Welcome to the Carpal Link. Today I will be looking at various promo cards that FFG have released throughout the years, and how some of them affected the game. First of all, we should talk about how tournaments worked back in the CCG. Organized play was centered around a program where individual players in a meta registered with FFG to join the Night's Watch. As a member of the Night's Watch, you could go on FFG's website and schedule tournaments. You could schedule as many events as you wanted, but one tournament per month was entitled to get support from FFG. This usually meant Gold Dragon certificates that were usually worth 60, 40 or 20 Gold Dragons. But once in a while, perhaps every other month or so, there was a period of 2 weeks where any supported tournament in that period also got promotional cards that were given out to anyone who participated in the event. Promo cards were not merely reprints of existing cards with alternate art like we have today, but instead they were completely new cards that weren't available in the normal releases. You could get them by participating in the special promo tournament, or you could get them later from FFG by redeeming Gold Dragons that you had collected, or you could trade them with other players, of course. The impact of promo cards have varied enormously. A lot of them were fairly bland and didn't see much play at all, while others were game-changing, and those are the ones I'll mainly focus on here. The first promo card that FFG released was Ghost, which was released in September of 2002 when the game was still in its infancy. There was a problem with the print run of Ghost, so there were a lot fewer copies of this promo available. Since this was a very good card right at the start, it was in high demand, which makes Ghost one of the rarest cards in the game today. The first hugely impactful promo was Rayder. Rayder was the first card that could really shut down a deck if you didn't have a way of dealing with him. You simply couldn't afford to attack unless you knew you could stealth past him, and even that could be countered by giving Rayder stealth, so you were better off if you could just kill him or kneel him. Rayder spent a lot of time at the Lannisport brothel in those days. The next game-changing promo to be released was King's Landing. This was the ultimate draw engine. There was no draw cap when this card was released, so there were decks that simply drew their entire deck the first turns. This card was released in any supported tournament between September 15th and September 30th in 2003. On October 10th of the same year, which was only 4 weeks after the card was first available, there was a new FAQ that introduced the 3-card draw cap. The next notable promo event was the special Wildling deck tournament. This was a normal tournament, but after it was finished, the players, starting with the winner, had a chance to play against a special promo deck built by FFG, and if you could beat the deck, you got to keep it. I'll probably make a specific video about this deck and how to beat it in the future, but I'll just mention that it was brutal to play against. The cards in the Wildling deck were never legal to play in tournaments except for one specific card that was given to everyone at the event, and that was Mance Rayder. Next we come to Queen of Thorns. She was released in a special Petals of the Rose tournament, along with 2 other House Tyrell promos, Marjorie and Garland. The rules of the tournament said that you could play House Tyrell characters in any deck without paying the out-of-house gold penalty, and any power you gained or took from your opponent had to be placed on a House Tyrell character instead of the house card. While this made for a fun side event, it was the Queen of Thorns that was the lasting impact on the game. She was the perfect card to throw into a deck that was light on intrigue icons, which was often House Stark or House Greyjoy and sometimes Targaryen. It was not unheard of for certain decks to just summon a copy of Queen of Thorns on the first turn, and then it was up to your opponent to try and deal with her. One annoying promo was King's Landing Harlot. This little weenie found her way into a surprising number of decks for a while. Many decks were built around gaining power for renown and other effects on your characters, so an effect that threatened to steal all those powers was often a good deterrent that could slow decks down pretty fast. And such rush decks perhaps didn't run much character control either. The solution could instead be that you ran your own Harlots, so that you could steal the power back right after your opponent tried to use theirs. Queen's Favorite was a promo that saw a lot of play. A cheap knight with Cannot Be Killed was a great card to have in a metagame where keeping characters around was hard. And since the effect was removed by your opponent having the same card in play, it meant that the best counter for it was playing it yourself and then being the first to kill your opponent's copy. The Winterblock introduced the Doomed mechanic, which was an icon placed on cards that were purposely overpowered. The drawback was that if you had 5 Doomed cards in your dead pile, then you lose the game. A promo that were released to balance this was The Doom That Came. This simply said that your opponent is considered to have an extra Doom card in their dead pile. This created a tricky balance between running a lot of Doom cards and risking losing to Doomed. And the solution often wasn't to stop playing Doom cards either, since the opportunity cost of not playing any of those overpowered cards was very high, so it was truly a difficult balance for a while. Previously I mentioned the Wildling deck. Later on there was also a Varus themed promo deck that was equally abusive to play against. I'll do a future video about this deck as well to highlight what made it so strong and how to beat it. Just like the Wildling deck, this did provide a promo that was legal to play in any deck, and that was Personal Guard. This was a very efficient card that provided kneel to any house, as well as the deadly keyword, so this saw a lot of play in many decks. Finally, we have another of those really impactful promo cards. Sir Ilium Pain made it a real pain to play low strength characters. The fact that he didn't just target those with printed strength 2 or lower was both a blessing and a curse. It meant that you could use strength pumps to make your character safe, but it also meant strength reductions crippled more of your characters. Thankfully, there was always John Bruno's plot to deal with him. That was the last of the promos that I was going to highlight in this video. It would be cool if FFG could go back to more of this type of promotion in the future. What was cool with these promos was that they actually impacted the game rather than just being cosmetic. I would like to send my thanks to Lucas Reed for suggesting this topic. Until next time, this is the Copper Link.